Let me start with a quote: strive not to be a success, but rather to be of value. I'm very excited to introduce Lavina Mahbubani, who is a co-founder of Lumis Design Technology, a company that makes a backpack for cyclists with unique features that help save lives. Lavina handles the product design at Lumis. In her role, she is responsible for every stage of product development, from concept to production, following a unique by the customer for the customer approach to design their backpacks. Lavina has a background in fashion designing as a gold medalist from National Institute of Fashion Technology. She has previously designed for the Landmark Group and Irwin brands. Lavina is one of the finalists of WEQ 2014, chosen to travel Silicon Valley. Let's put our hands together to welcome Lavina to talk about her experience with building and selling a globally successful product using a customer-centric approach. Pleasure to have you here, Lavina.
Hello. Yeah, hi. Firstly, I'd like to thank GSCI for having me here, and thanks for the intro as well. Right. So, in fact, I was quite impressed because when I walked into this event, it was one of the first events where there were 2 ladies' toilets. The gents' toilet had been converted into women's toilet. That's something that never happens at any event, and it's a very good sign of things to come for us as women, right? As Kavita mentioned in the introduction, I'm both a designer and an entrepreneur. And I became a designer because I wanted to innovate on products, make things that no one has made before, right? Do something new and creative and innovative. But then over 4 years of being in the product industry and seeing things from concept to the consumer using them and giving feedback, going through that cycle multiple times, that's when I realized that there's more than just building innovative products. It's about building products that people love and care for and can talk about. And today I want to talk a little bit about my shift from being product focused to being more customer centric in my approach, right? So before I start on that, I'd like to just give us all a little bit of an insight into what is customer centricity, so we can get that out of the way, right? So it's fairly simple. The end game of any business is to have revenues, right? Which means that the most important point in your business is when the customer is hovering over that buy button somewhere online, right? So any step that you can take, any business decision that you can make to simplify the process by which he can buy your product or download it or love, share, and benefit from your product, that's a customer-centric decision that you can make for your business, right? So when you start making things, you want to start asking yourself, what am I making? For who am I making? What problem is it solving for them? Do they really want this product? Will they benefit from it, right? So I don't know what the mix in the room is like. I'm a little more focused towards startups and people who are trying to do something innovative, maybe even within their business. So you're probably wondering at this stage, I barely have a concept or an idea, I'm doing something new, and we're already talking about a customer. Before I don't even know whether my product has been finalized, it might iterate so many times. But on the contrary, if at this stage you start thinking and involving a customer, you'll end up saving a lot of time and effort. And as a startup or in any company, you probably have a limited budget, right? And you can't really afford to waste time in fence sitting and reworking decisions that went wrong. It's probably very important at this stage that you involve your customer and just solve a lot of decisions by asking them what they want, right? It sounds very simplistic, but it is common sense that reduces a lot of time and effort on your part. And having said that, there's also something known as a product market fit, which is that what you're making and the people you're making it for need to match, otherwise they'll not buy it. So that's one place where reaching out to the customer at an early stage helps you reduce risk. And finally, there's also a sense of empathy to be gained from this, which is that when you say you're making something to solve a problem for someone, you want to make their lives better. It's what we say when we market, right? So our customer is the boss of their problem. They know their pain point, right? They have gone through solutions and they have searched for a solution to this. So you need to know that what you're talking about is something that they also understand. So they feel that you have a sense of empathy for them. You can relate to them. That's when they'll feel like they want to buy your product and adopt it, right? So yeah, that's us. That's me and the team thinking, what do we make? That's a little exaggerated. We don't spend all our time doing that. But now I want to talk about how we incorporated this, right? And why we incorporated it. So like I mentioned, I designed for my team, But I'm also joined by my co-founders who are an electronics engineer. I have an MBA who works on the business building front. And we have a marketer from a B2B telecom front, all very different backgrounds with different product life cycles and company cultures, right? So when we got together, we made a product, which was the first product we launched. We launched it because we thought it was cool. We thought, wouldn't it be cool if you had a bag which had solar energy, so you could charge your phone in the bag itself? And we all spend time outdoors, running in the Volvos, trying to catch buses, and people who spend the most time outdoors are cyclists. So we decided that they will be our customers, and we will sell solar bags to cyclists. And we did this for a year and a half, and we got a lot of acknowledgement, and we did get a lot of customers from over 16 countries. But then we realized that we're making a product people like, but it's not something that they love. It wasn't catching and giving us that virality that a product should have if you want to scale as a company. So we thought, let's go back to the drawing board, and then now let's start with the customer, right? So the first thing that we decided to do is not build in isolation. So earlier in our sessions, we would always say, hey, let's do this, let's do that. But now we realize that that's the way you'd end up in an unhappy surprise when there's indifference for your product. Which is why we started with asking the customer what is it that you want and trying to find something that's grounded in a real market need rather than our assumptions, right? And we did this at every stage, not just the concept. We went back to iterate, went back to improve our product at every stage. So now when we said we're going to ask questions, what are you going to ask, right? So we wanted to build a safety product because from our first product, we found out that charging is not as important, but people who cycle are very concerned about their safety. This is the assumption we came away with from talking to customers. So now if you ask people, are you worried about safety? It's like asking them, do you care about world peace? Everyone cares about world peace. Yes, everyone wants to be safe, right? But that's when you really need to start digging deeper. So you need to ask a customer in Germany, what does safety mean to you? Versus a guy cycling on Bangalore streets, what does safety mean to you? And then you'll find out that the guy in Germany has cycling lanes, but he still feels unsafe despite all the rules and regulations. Versus a guy in Bangalore cycling on the sidewalk, doesn't have a lane, but still, he's like, I'm the only guy moving in traffic, so I am safe, right? So there are a lot of non-obvious answers you get when you really start digging deeper. And one takeaway we got from asking questions is ask the right questions. So ask questions where you find out what people have spent money on, where they've taken action. That shows you what they care about. So we started asking people questions like, how much have you spent in the last 6 months on safety products? And that's when we found out what is important, what's not for us feature-wise. So we moved on, we iterated at every stage, like I told you, and we came to the point where we were now ready to show prototypes to a market and find out, okay, this is what we have, we think it's good for you, do you like it, right? There, again, we found two kinds of reactions. One reaction was, this is really nice, it's wonderful, let me know when it launches. This sounds like a good reaction, but it's actually a very lukewarm reaction, because where am I going to find that person when it launches? Now, on the other hand, we found responses like, okay, I'll tell you what, you give me the prototype itself, I'll pay you half the money, we'll see later when the product launches. This is where someone's willing to commit something now, give you their email ID, write a review for you now, test it out for a week. Those are examples of a product that's going in the right direction. Right? I think this is a popular meme, but this is the stage you want to arrive at. When you arrive at this, you know that you're saving a lot of marketing money. You have a product that will sell itself, right? So moving forward, after many stages of iteration and involving our customers in testing our prototypes, we were at the stage where we wanted to build awareness and now tell the rest of the world about it, right? So the first time around, we were very confused. We read a lot online about how to build a marketing strategy, how to be global. We did a lot of homework. But this time we just asked the customer, where are you already buying from? What are you reading? How did you make that decision? Surely your product, while innovative, is not the only product of its kind in the world, right? So it's very important to just get this information from the customer, and the information you get will surprise you. So for example, where did your customer buy similar products from? Here I'm just going to point out something that we did where our understanding of the customer helped us really change our strategy, right? So this was our assumption when we started, that most people who cycle, at least in Bangalore, and by translation the rest of the world, or people who cycle because they're in a large tech company, they have exposure to California and the valley, and either they want to beat traffic or they want to get fit or they want to be ecologically friendly. This was our understanding of our customer. And the biggest place they associate with people is tech companies. So let's go and market at tech companies. This was our thought, right? So we actually went, we put up stalls at Infosys, and we would meet thousands of people in a day, right? They would all love the product. And we were competing with so many people around us, people like Samsung phones who have booth babes and they have games going on. We were small fry. So we weren't really catching their attention for long enough or making any significant difference to them. They would like the product, we would move on, and we would not see any conversions from such things. So then we spent some time in conversation with a few cyclists, and we found out that the same people who cycle to work, they also cycle with their friends on leisure trips on the weekend, right? And once they're done with, say, a 10, 20-kilometer ride, they'll sit down for idlis on the highway, and then that's where they start talking that, hey, I noticed you got a new cycle, you got a helmet, you know that guy crashed and his helmet broke in one ride. So that's when the conversation about what, who bought, how it performed, and what should I buy next happens. So our real insight came into when we found out that they're not just cyclist customers, they're also people who are foodies, have conversations, non-obvious insights that we wouldn't have got if we hadn't actually spent time as human beings with them, right? So once we realized that, we decided we will be at cycling events. Let's take the stall to the cycling event. So we went with our t-shirts and we went with our flyers and they're all riding. At the end of the ride, we're giving them flyers and we realized they're all wearing spandex cycling shorts. There's no pocket to even put a flyer in, right? We don't look like one of them as a business, as a brand. We're not people they can relate to. We're just interfering with them and giving them paper they don't want. So then the next ride we went to, we said that, okay, we'll be like Red Bull. We can't afford to give away cans. We can afford bananas. So we'll write our message on a banana, put our logo, and surely, I mean, if you see something written on a banana, you're going to read it, right? Why is it on a banana? So that's what we did the next time. So this we thought was a great idea, okay? But these people are starving. They've been riding for an hour. Now they grab the banana, pull off the peel, very nice idea, they eat it. Experience over in 5 seconds. And not just one banana, one guy is eating the whole batch. We were out of business cards. That's when we realized we need to control the experience even more, right? So we said, let's invite them to the office. So here we're trying to control the post-ride experience and stretch out the whole event. So we started a ride, it started from our office and it ended after our office, after the ride at our office. And we said, you ride for 20 kilometers, we'll give you all the cake you can eat. And they came to our office, they ate cake, they started looking at the bags. They asked us, oh, this is so innovative, how do you make this? So we showed them the back end, we showed them raw material, our exciting secret prototypes that we don't show otherwise. We were much more honest as a company, and we appeared more like someone they could relate to, young people like themselves. And that's when things really started to change for us. So that led to a spree of similar rides, Halloween rides and movie nights, all things where people could associate cycling, and we had a bunch of cyclists talking about us at our place. And we realized that we were giving them a community center to hang out at. We're also giving them an opportunity that we could control to talk about our business. So now I'm happy to say that everyone in the team has a bunch of 10 customers that they can call and reach out to at any time. When they have a product idea or a feature they want testing, they just call some people and say, hey, can you come over and test this? Or we'll go for a ride together and I'll see how it works on your bike or on you while you're riding. And that led to building a lot of trust, right? So the people that started out being our testers became our earliest adopters, and they in turn became influencers for the rest of the community. So now we see posts on Facebook saying, hey, is that Lumos like a German company? And then someone says, no, I've been to their office, an Indian company, nice guys, you should come with me sometime. We don't have to answer any of our own questions anymore. We have our first line of defense there waiting for us, right? Coming to point of sale. So I mentioned that this whole thing worked very well for us, and we wanted to validate by doing a crowdfunding program. I don't know if you guys know what a crowdfunding campaign is, but that's basically where you put up a concept or an idea online on a platform, and you raise money to make the product. And you get pre-orders, based on which you make a product. It's usually a good way of estimating the demand, and all this work we had done led up to this point. Now, at this point, you just want them to buy. You don't want to stop them, right? So we walked through our whole interface with the customer multiple times to see what they were seeing, what are we communicating and what are we not communicating. And I can't, stress upon how important this is to keep doing with new customers and find new ways to look at your own product. The other side of this is, why are they not buying, right? The ones who are buying, of course, it's good to know why, but the ones who are not buying. So we set out a whole set of surveys of why, what is stopping you, what is hindering you, what did you not understand. We did A/B testing to try and figure out what interfaces work better for us. And finally, we had some insights that we could follow up on. So it's not just important to sell your product. After that, you need to follow that product home to the customer's house, right? So they took it home, they opened it, or they downloaded it. What is the experience they're having at that moment? That is very important to capture, because that is what they will put on social media. And you need to be able to control that experience. So one thing that we did was that we would talk to one customer a day who's using the product on a regular basis, and 5 customers a week who had just bought the product, to find out, okay, you bought from Amazon, how did it arrive? You bought from our site, how was the experience? And that's what we would do. Apart from that, we would also have detailed conversations about the product usage with a few customers over coffee, that, oh, okay, you took it to Leh Ladakh and you rode. How was it there? What happened? And that's when we find out there's a lot of features that we think are important to the customer, which they've completely misinterpreted and they're using a different way, or we misinterpreted their need to begin with, right? So it's very important to somehow get that information and feedback as fast as you can. Another thing we try to do is to gamify the way people give us this feedback. So we started asking for videos of product usage. We asked them to put their pets in the bag and show us how they're using it. So we try to get as much information about the kind of usage as possible. So now I keep talking about listening to what the customer is saying and asking them questions, right? But what are we listening to and how are we documenting it becomes very important. So this is something that we noticed, that we want to hear things that affirm our own assumptions, which means that if I think my solar bag is good and someone else tells me it's good, it's fine. If someone tells me, I don't know how this will work in the European market, that will not even register in my head unless I document it. I will just say, okay, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, 10 people told me it's good. So when it's positive feedback, it's very important to document it, and when it's negative feedback, it's even more important to document it, right? And apart from that, you want to know if there are any negative features to your product. So this is extremely true, because this is where you will make the changes, this is where your product will improve. So more often than not, we'd see on taxi ratings and e-commerce websites, if you're happy with the product, you leave 7 and up to 10, and there's nothing else you have to do. If it's below 7, you have to fill out a dialog box. Who's going to fill out a dialog box, right? So unless you're extremely unhappy, you hate the product, the company will never know about it. If they've just made a lukewarm product that could be better, they'll never really find out. So you want to set up your processes such that you can get these answers in place. So speaking of negative feedback, there are times that despite everything you do, you would have made a huge mess of your product somewhere, which will spiral out of control. So we have seen this as well with delays in shipping, or maybe we just missed an order went by, someone gave us money 2 months ago somehow on the website, but we never delivered. And then when we deliver the wrong color, and we somehow keep compounding that experience to make it worse. Now these are all mistakes that you're not making maliciously, but maybe there are errors in your system that still need to be corrected, right? So at this point, first you have to give the customer an opportunity to vent, because they have anger. And at this point, having an employee who is indifferent or is just not trained to be sensitive enough can be suicide for your company. So you need to let them vent before they go to social media. You need to be able to capture it in an email instead of on social media if possible, as fast as possible. Now at this point, it's important to appear honest, rather than like you're trying to cover up your error, because people can accept human error, but they do not like when a big company is trying to scam them. So it's very important to be upfront and realize that you may lose the customer at the end, which is fine, but you will still have dignity and a reputation. So there's this company that starts with an A. It's named after a fruit that's very good at doing this, right? To the point where when they launch a new product, we don't even think about why we're buying it anymore. But they've done homework in the past. It's not that they haven't, right? Because they've delivered consistently product upon product upon product, which is good, a customer experience that's beyond par, right? So now we are hardwired to think that they make good products, they deliver good experiences. And for a while to come, we will not question ourselves on why we think this. So all companies aspire to get to this stage where they move from just loyal customers to fanboys. And it is something that each company has to figure out for themselves and tailor make a solution. But there are certain things that you can do. One of which is your customer is using your product and it's benefiting him in some way. It's also benefiting the society in some way. It's a good idea to tell them what they're doing, how they're helping the community. Either this product has made them this much healthier, or the money that they gave went into something that made something else better. Even if it just went into making your company better and you're benefiting the economy, it's still important to tell them that thank you, you helped us, right? People like to feel good about themselves and be made to feel good about their purchases. That's one way you can celebrate them. The other way that you can give them some satisfaction is to pass on rewards to them. For example, if you're getting some sort of a cost benefit, it's a good idea to give them some money back. It's a good idea to forward integrate your products, which means allow for future customizations to be made, launch new features, so that the product they made is useful even 2-3 years beyond, right? That's thinking of them. And let them know that you've done this for them. Finally, I'd like to say that this is a process. So this cycle will keep causing you to improve your product, your understanding of the customer. You'll not get it right the first time. You may not get it right even for a few times beyond that. But eventually you will come closer to the fanboy stage, which is, as I said, the stage we all aspire to as companies. So I'd like to, take questions and yes. Thank you.
Global customers being here, I have a product in my mind, okay, and maybe not be too technical, but I have a product in mind, and how do I know whether there is a scope for selling this product, or even if people are interested in knowing about this product and then getting it globally? How do I do that?
That's actually a good question because it's a problem we went through as well. Um, it's a very good idea to first fix on, when you say global, you must fix on some locations that influence global buying. So for cycling, there are two spheres in my segment. There are two spheres that influence buying. There is a European cyclist and there's a cyclist from US. All right, the European cyclist, it's a way of life to them. So they don't spend on any gadgets or gear. They find it very ostentatious. Why should I buy a helmet? Everyone is cycling, I'm also cycling. That's one kind of cyclist. And my other kind is the US cyclist that will spend on new things every 4 months, every 6 months. They'll buy things in new colors, a new launch from the same brand, right? So when you say global, you want to pick, you want to make a product for one of those two segments. They're both very different, right? So similarly in your space, I think you'll also find that, as an example, the US and US influenced countries will be your market. From there on, you probably want to have some early conversations with customers there, with distributors there, with aggregators of your product. For me, an aggregator would be a person who distributes cycling products, a bike shop, maybe someone who organizes rides for 2,000-3,000 people, right? So that's an aggregator as an idea of an entire market there. It's good to talk to a combination of those various stages of people in your segment. The other thing is, a good indicator of whether you're ready to go global in that space is that when you try to talk to someone from, say, a country like Germany, you'll first face language barriers, then you'll face cultural barriers. So if you have the resources as a startup or as an innovator to overcome all that, then it's worth looking at that location. Otherwise, you want to pick the ones that you are culturally similar to and can get the word across to. There's no other barrier to having a global product. There are, of course, logistics, but yeah, that is a matter of money and the right hiring.
How about using the social media for this?
So the language barrier and the cultural barrier comes up in social media especially. For example, we spent a lot of time cracking very Indian jokes about Desi politics and all that, and when I went global, we had a few more English sounding jokes, and then we had a joke about Hitler. It was a little meme with some text, and it didn't go down well at all. We had to remove the post because our German customers contacted us saying that we're not comfortable with this. Hitler is not something we joke about. It's something that affected a lot of lives. So we don't have the same sense of humor as them. So there needs to be a match, otherwise you're going to invest a lot of effort in hiring someone in Germany to crack separate jokes in German.
Product designer, when you open up for feedback and your customer base is really huge, like a globe. So the number of feedback that you get is humongous. So how would you draw a line when you see all the feedback as equally good, that this is the one that I'm going to go for at least for this quarter?
Could you repeat the second half of that?
So when you get those feedback and
Yeah.
you see so many of them are equally important, as a product designer, how would you draw a line? Okay, I'll only go for these ones for this quarter.
For some of your products, you're saying versus others?
No, no, no. As a product-based company, when you
Right.
open up for feedback, okay, and your customer base is really huge, like a globe.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm from Mastercard, so my customer base is really huge. So the number of feedback that we get is humongous. So how would you draw a line as a product designer that, okay, these are the ones that I'm going to pick for this quarter, probably?
So I think within the feedback, you're going to have to find new ways to ask questions. It will depend on what your company wants to achieve. You may want to just get greater awareness for your products in general, which if you're a big company, you might still want, right? Or you may just want the product that's most profitable, it's the easiest to buy. So in design, when we take decisions, sometimes we ask ourselves, do we want something that looks innovative and different? Or do we want that one product that everyone will buy, which we know everyone will buy? So sometimes as a company, those are decisions we have to take, regardless of feedback. So I may decide to make a more innovative product and lose customers, but that will be a company decision. And it will be balanced out by having some other products that sort of satisfy your margins, if you get what I mean. Did that answer your question?
Thanks, Lavina. This was a very, very good talk. Extremely humble, extremely down to earth. It felt very real and authentic. So thank you for the talk, first of all. I loved the banana idea. It was just completely something that would take a long time for anyone to figure out. But I also noticed that as you kind of switched your plan to actually having people come over to your office, right? At least on the website, we usually worry about redirecting people because there's always a trickle, right? You always drop off a few customers along the way as a result. So I'm kind of curious, did you try, I don't know how many of those bikers were carrying their phones, I would imagine they were. Did you consider using any mobile apps or something that they could click from the banana QR code and kind of experience something similar or get a reward or something else to get your office? Or did you measure the trickle at all, or did you actually see any fall off along the way when you did
You're
that?
asking me if I was able to document from offline to online methods, what was the conversion?
Yes.
So in that specific method, no, it was a little more difficult. So the decision there was to involve smaller groups in a more immersive experience and also build a reputation for ourselves. If we were a person, we'd be that person whose house is always the house everyone goes and hangs out at. So it was more about brand building in that sense, and sharing those photos and experiences on social media to get feedback. To get more conversions.
Measure the percentage of
No, between
customers
those events and no, we were not able to.
Hi, this is Kshitija from Amazon. My question is that so I liked your product. So, but are you planning to sell some other products as well related to cycling itself on your website so that it becomes a single stop for cyclists? So, for example, in Amazon, when you buy a product, it actually tells you other recommended products. So, something like that, are you planning to do in near future?
So I'll tell you our long-term vision, but it sounds a little far away. So,
Okay.
so our dream is to be the love child of Apple and Nike, which is basically a tech apparel company, right? And we pick cycling because cycling is a segment which, unlike running and unlike, say, football, doesn't have giants in it at the moment. It is still a segment that is possible to ease into. But our plan over time is to have an entire range for cyclists and then move out of that to other sports and other outdoor activities.
Hi, I'm Hema. So, first thing I would like to know is how did you manage to bring those cyclists to your place? Just with cakes? Seriously?
So, yes.
Okay.
Yes, it was food. People cycle because they love to eat. That was a non-obvious insight that we would never have got otherwise, right? So, I mean, we started with, say, one person meeting them for coffee and saying, hey, I think, wouldn't it be a good idea if we did this? We met one cyclist, two cyclists. That guy spread the word saying, hey, these people are having a cake party. The first party, a lot of people came for the cake. Then they had a good experience, and the next time they came because they came for the conversation, the community, the feeling of belonging, the kind of thing you usually try to establish in a Facebook group online. And just talking about our product each and every week, saying we make solar backpack, we make solar backpack, was not making us sound cool. We wanted people to know that we make solar backpacks, but not have to constantly push it at them. And this helped us do that.
Okay. And the second question is, what do you think is the key strategy that made the difference in your case? Apart from bringing the cyclists to for the cake party, but what do you think is the key strategy that made you recover from your old state where you lost your customers, where you were not able to get the attention of your customers, to the phase that you got the attention and you were able to sell your product in a much better way?
I think it was, honestly, which will also be the point of this presentation, but it was involving them at every stage, right? Because now when we get reviews, we get a review saying such well thought out features. Who thought them out? The customer only thought them out. Then we asked them, they told us that I need a place to store this, I need something to store that, I don't feel visible at night, make me visible, add some lights, add this, add that. Of course, you have to use common sense to filter what they're saying they want and what they'll actually pay for. So you don't end up with some thousands of dollars in one bag. But yeah, it's important to have that whole customer connection, because otherwise there is a disconnect. Bloggers sense that, reviewers sense that. When the time comes to spread word of mouth, it's just difficult to talk about a product that people can't relate to. Any other? Okay.
Whatever you are saying. I myself am a runner, not a cyclist, but I could
Right.
identify with the pain point of my friends and the way you have incorporated probably in your features, right? So do you have like, are you just, in terms of making those groups and all, are you just Bangalore focused or do you have presence in other city as well?
So
I'm from Hyderabad.
we try to do events in other cities,
Yeah.
but mostly we try to look like we're having a lot of fun in Bangalore.
Yeah.
So if they bought our product and we ever expanded to US, they'd have a lot of fun with us there also.
Okay.
It's very, very difficult to organize a meetup or an event unless you have those kind of resources. But that is something that we're trying to do at the moment. We're trying to reach out to aggregators in other cities.
Yeah, like
And
bike affairs and all can help you with that. They keep
Right.
organizing rides and all. So I was just thinking of expanding.
we do, in fact, work with Bike Affair a lot.
Good.
So, aggregators like bike stores in other cities and other countries where we give them some sort of a benefit and also help them make their store the hangout or the community center through our product.
Cool. Good luck for your future.
Thanks.
I understand that the activity of whole gathering the cyclists together and talking about it would really create the awareness. But when it comes to conversion, it's a lot of process about bringing the brand awareness and then actually going out where people actually buy you out. And the conversion actually goes down quite a bit. I would say 1:10 is the usual kind of a thing which we consider it.
Right.
How do you see your marketing strategies over there? So do you have, would you like to continue with this way of engaging customer to build more or make your brand more aware, or do you see a change over a period of time where you actually would focus on conversions, like actual buying of the product?
Right. So we do invest in the traditional social media as well, even now, but it is because we have less money to endlessly splurge in social media, and we always need to have something to talk about, which is why we're doing this. So I see us doing a balance of both going forward. We'll still need to have events, we'll still need to celebrate the influencers in the community, much like Nike does with celebrities. So we can only afford local celebrities, and we can only afford to pay them in cake today, right? But so we see ourselves moving up the ladder in that sense, but we will also spend equal amount of time in our Google ads, our Facebook ads.
Just like Pinkathon has Milind Soman, do you have any good-looking hunks who's going to do that for you?
I don't answer that. So yeah, it's a real pleasure to interact with our customers, is all I'm going to say. But yeah, no, we've tried to reach out to Milind Soman actually many times. Yeah. And every time we try to reach out to Salman Khan, who also cycles, he goes and does something negative, and then there's no point reaching out to him. But yeah.
Thanks, Lavina. That was a wonderful session. Now we know the customers are the heart of everything.